This customer called and could not shut the water off to their toilet. Knowing this would be a huge problem in the future, they wanted to get it fixed. And considering that thing was straight piped right to the tank, I'm cutting it out and replacing it. And the reason I cut that T out there was because the crimp on the bottom side of the T was barely on. I figured it would leak in the future pretty soon. So I figured I would go ahead and swap that out. Now, it's always easier to crimp down low where you have a lot more leverage. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm crimping as many connections as I can instead of having to do it overhead. And no, the water was not ran like that because it was on a manifold here. The plumbing in this house was definitely done by somebody's cousin or brother-in-law that said they could do it cheaper, because when I was down in the crawl space, pretty much everything was wrong. It was clearly remodeled at some point recently and it was a disaster. So I'm sure I'll be back at some point to make some other repairs. And you know it's bad when all the PVC fittings for the drain have letters and numbers to configure where they are and where they line up, and when the water lines don't have a single strap in them and they're hanging around all over the place. Just because something works doesn't necessarily mean that it's right, and that's why it's super important to hire a professional, and why codes and regulation are so important. Because if something goes wrong, you can wind up really messing up a lot of things, causing a lot of damage in somebody's house. And for me, yeah, you pay a lot of money for a professional, but you also pay a lot of money for peace of mind, where you know something was done correctly, it was done safe and functionally, where likelihood of a leak is very low and everything should be functioning properly. And not to mention, professionals have insurance, and it's very important to pay for that. Now, just because something like that hasn't happened at this house yet doesn't mean it won't. And if it does, you can't call your uncle's brother's cousin-in-law and have him pay for the damages, because you'll either be blocked or he'll be out of the country. And you may be like, oh, this is all coming from a guy that's just making a video putting a compression angle stop on with a braided supply line. I mean, come on. And you may be right, but newsflash, I'm also good enough to swap out a shower head, so watch out. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.